Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but first, we want to give a shout out to our two podcast partners, We Coach and the Global Community of Women in High School Sports. These are two great organizations you really need to be a part of. Now, let's hear a quick word from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards for their support. Sideline Interactive has some just terrific products. We've got a Sideline Interactive indoor scoring table in our gym, and it's just great. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies. We use it for signing ceremonies. It's tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and their boards in action. That's sidelineinteractive.com or sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online. They'll show you how to scan the attendees that come to your game and collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you'll have a dedicated client success manager that's providing hands on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. They'll also show you how to sell your tickets for things like school dances, school plays, concerts, even graduation. That's hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to SnapRaise. Go to snapraise.com and check out their platform, which includes a tremendous fundraiser. Go to snapraise.com and see how their fundraising platform can work for you. Our coaches use SnapRaise, and it was just fantastic. As an athletic director, I knew what was going on, but I didn't have to be involved. Choosing the best fundraiser for you and your school is critical, and the SnapRaise digital fundraising difference will make a difference for you. It's easy, it's safe, and it works. Go to snapraise.com and check out the thousands and thousands of dollars that they've helped schools just like yours raise using SnapRaise. Change your fundraising game plan and start a fundraiser that works for you. Go to snapraise.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs by Wall of Fame. Their indoor scoring, indoor boards, and their interactive touchscreen consoles and their library of templates can help you recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. The touchscreen feature is very cool for you to help recognize your school record boards and your Hall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. Once again, their interactive touchscreen consoles and video boards are definitely the way to go. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to gipper.com and see how athletic directors are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. That's Gipper.com. Start creating custom branded content for your school's social media channel. Tell them you heard about it on the podcast and use the podcast code ADPOD10 and get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. We also want to thank Huddle. Huddle is how the world sees sports. Go to huddle.com and see how 200,000 teams across the country use Huddle to help their athletes play better. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just love the smart cameras, the mobile apps. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more. Huddle has the tools to help every team, every coach, every athlete play better, and they can provide a complete professional grade solution to your school. Go to huddle.com and see why we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. That's huddle.com to help turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in forms and registration, but there's so much more than that. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility. They've got reminders for parents about policies and physicals and all the forms that come when you have an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help your coaches with things like attendance and communication. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help you with eligibility, with rosters, and all the forms that come across your desk. You know, it's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. And we also want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for their support. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. At my schools, we used forms for just about everything for teachers, for coaches, for kids, and for parents. And the information that came back on these surveys was almost always over the top positive, and it'll be the same for you. But surveys also allow that squeaky wheel parent to vent a little. And sometimes they'll share a small issue that you can take care of and keep it from turning into a big issue because you didn't know about it, because you didn't do a survey. Go to athleticsurveys.com or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the pros at Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We have what we like to call a friend of the show back with us, Amy Elliott. Amy's a certified master athletic administrator. She's been a guest on the podcast, and I think this is her second time around for Wednesday Wisdom. She's the athletic director at Kentucky Country Day School. Does a great job with her programs, and I'm going to shut up now and welcome our guest, Amy Elliott. How's it going?
Great, Jake. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Always great to talk with you. You and I were talking before we started recording today. I'm excited about this topic. So I'm going to ask, what do you have for our listeners on Wednesday Wisdom?
All right. So I wanted to talk about kind of college signings and how we are handling kids at our school, going to different sports, whether it's Division I, Division II, Division III, how we handle their signing days. And, so I inherited something. This is my second year here at KCD. So I inherited something from my predecessor, which I think is great. And I want to just make sure that I kind of shared what we do. And if anyone has any other great ideas or comments, I'd love to get those opinions from you all. More importantly, of what you do at your school and how maybe we can make our process better. So I know for us, one of the first things is on our social media accounts when a kid does commit. So typically it could be, their senior year, but when they actually make that official commitment, we will put a picture of them and announce that official commitment on our social media case, like our KCD Athletics page. So we want to make sure each of those kids is recognized when they announce it. A lot of them are just super excited when they make that commitment to make that, get that information out as soon as possible. I think it's a nice weight off their shoulders too, but it's another way for us to share not only accomplishment for one of our student athletes, but just to recognize them and give them some kudos for competing at the next level. So that's one thing that I've done. And so within that, some mistakes is there was one player who last year I did not know committed, and just learning as an athletic director, her mom letting me know when she saw someone else's picture up there, hey, you forgot my kid. And so it's just something now that I really tried to be more aware of, and talk to my coaches and say like, hey, I need your help. I'd love to know every single athlete, and I hope I do, but if I miss something, please let me know. I don't want to leave any of the kids out. So something that happened that I'm, again, learning curve that I'm trying to figure out going forward, but really being sure that my coaches help me. And then also the kids just let me know what they're looking at, and when they make that commitment to make me one of the points of contact, so I don't forget them. So we wind up, celebrating her with another athlete. We kind of combined it, but that was one of the things we were talking about was, okay, when do we celebrate them? If we celebrate them when they make their commitment, do we celebrate it like the day they do it? Or do you just celebrate them all at the end of the year? Do you do it at the end of the season? So for right now, what we're doing is pretty much the immediate commitment, at least on social media. And the snafus with that again is if someone commits and you don't know for a day or two, you might be late. But so far it's been better and it's worked well. And I think it's exciting for the kids because they like to get it out. So once we have kind of our signees, what I learned, again, this was last year as well, my first year, the national letter of intent, like the signing day for the fall is November 9th. And I kind of knew it was upcoming, but I didn't really know what athletes were going to be signing. So this year I just did a much better job of sending it out to all student news of, okay, I knew a couple of them, but who's signing, where are you going? And, we figured out a time. So we have 4 girls this year that are playing, or at least getting scholarship. So if anybody that was scholarshiped and signing a letter, they got back to me and we worked out a time. So typically we do it can be after school, it can be evening, it can be lunchtime. Really what I try to do is just what works best for the athletes and their families, just to make sure that they're there to celebrate with the kids. I do like doing it during lunchtime because then all of their friends are able to participate. After school, there might be practices, or evening, there might be games. So that kind of is what we've been doing, if possible, is at lunchtime. Our kids have like a 50-minute lunch so that they can get lunch. And then we take the last 30 minutes and meet in the theater. So this year, again, I sent out to all student news to make sure I had all the individuals, found out their schools. Then I have this, I call her my cookie lady. She's just awesome. She makes these tremendous cookies. So have her make a dozen cookies for each of the kids that they'll take home on signing day. 4 of them usually have their name on them, and another 4 have like their school, and another 4 have whatever sport they are. So just something a little bit nice for the kids that they'll take home. And so on that day, this year is going to be on a Wednesday during lunch. I just have to set up with our facilities and make sure we have a table. We've got a really cool tablecloth and a media backdrop that we use, typically order balloons, and make sure the families are aware. Obviously, the kids are aware, and then our student body and just community are aware of the ceremony so people can join in. We also will have some kind of cookies and like lemonade afterwards, just so the kids can hang out. We can take pictures, and we give the kids time on stage with their family to go up and be able to take pictures of their own, whether they want them alone or with their parents, with their friends, with their coach. They will be up on stage as individuals, and then the coach will come up and say something about them. They will typically say something as well, thanking the people that were there and just excited about their opportunity. Take some pictures, and then all that will again go in our social media, not only the kind of like our Instagram, but also our weekly email to all the parents, so people will know who signed and where they signed, and just some kind of cool celebratory photos for that. So that's how we kind of do the fall signing day. And then in the spring, if there's any other athletes that have gotten a national letter of intent, we do a ceremony again. So like last year, I had one signed for football late, and we did a signing for him, and his was in the evening just because that was best for his family. But then at the end of the year, what we do, especially because our school, we're K through 12, about 1,000 people. A lot of our kids do well at Division III schools. It's kind of just a good niche, a good, kind of just a good piggyback to what we do here in terms of a really strong academic component, but also the emphasis on having athletics as well. And some of our kids, several, play multiple sports. So Division III sometimes is a really good venue for them, so they can do lacrosse and field hockey, or soccer and lacrosse, or whatever it is they may do. So at the end of the year, typically, because we have kids that don't commit till very late, they need to receive information back from their, a lot of times a Division III college in April, March or April, if they got in, and then talking to the coach about, playing, whether, because most of them are not going to be scholarshiped. It will be, they might get academic scholarships, but it won't be an athletic scholarship. So at the very end of the year, we recognize everyone, which typically can be, and we've had from 10 to 15 kids a year, up to 20, just depending on the class and the size. And what we do is, similarly, at the end of the year, we'll take everybody. So that includes anyone who's already signed, and then the kids who are newly committed to Division III schools. And it could be, newly committed to Division I. It's not typical, but it happens. And all of them will meet, and we'll have an evening where we do that. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty special. The kids that have already signed, previously in the year won't go up to stage, but because they kind of have already done that, but their name will be on. We have these huge billboards with their name and their college, and the sport they're playing, and we kind of include those within the ceremony for the kids. So that's what we do right now. And I do like our process. I just, the one thing that worries me sometimes, like I said, is forgetting about kids, or, not getting the timing exactly right when you're trying to do it either immediately or one in the fall, maybe one in the spring. So that's my one concern is, just keeping up with it and making sure that I don't forget anybody, and I'm not, not honoring our kids, because that's always a concern.
Yeah, again, great ideas, and you bring up a very good point about finding a system, finding a way to recognize these kids that works for you and your population. Your kids know it, your parents kind of know it. As an AD, you still have to communicate that each year to that new crop of usually not the kids, it's the parents. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of different ways to do it. We did the individual ones. I think I told you very similar setup at my school. Um, my last school I was at before I retired, we didn't do the collective one at the end of the year, which I really love. I just think that's a great idea, and it gives you that opportunity to recognize a later signee,
Yeah.
particularly at those lower levels, I hate to say lower, Division three or something that appears. The system that we had at our school, we publicized it, but we really put I'm going to say the responsibility of
Mhm.
organizing it on the kid and the parent about they would bring in their own goodies, and we told them, maybe a sheet cake or cookies, or in our school is always Chick-fil-A. People would bring in the Chick-fil-A nuggets and they would disappear instantly. Punch and that sort of stuff. Um, I'm going to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Sideline Interactive. We have one of their indoor scoring tables, the video boards, and
Yeah.
it's basically a big LED screen, actually two screens, that was programmable like a PowerPoint. And I would have the
Mhm.
parents send me photos, action photos, baby photos, youth volleyball or youth softball photos, and I would be able to incorporate that into a PowerPoint. We had the college they were going to. I'd go online and get their school logos and download them, and just have this running PowerPoint loop that would play. And that was kind of where the kids sat. They sat behind the scoreboard, and this is playing the entire time. Parents just loved it, and it
Oh,
was something
that's so cool.
it was something I could send them as an attachment on an email. We'd let the kids speak. We'd let the parents speak. Usually we would have their primary head coach.
Mhm.
After I introduced them, they would talk about their accolades. And only maybe one or two times I had to get the hook out and get the mom or the dad off the stage. But again, it was at lunchtime. They invited the kids. We set it up, but there's some responsibility on them to do it. But again, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
What's do you have a memory, or just maybe something different or unique, something special that really sticks out for you on one of those signing ceremonies?
I think one of the ones that was a little special was so one kid, we did it in the evening for him just because his family was working and couldn't get there in the day. And I mean, we had like over for this one boy playing, his name's Jordan Duff, he's playing football in college. I mean, there must have been like 70 people there, like just for him. And it just was really awesome. I mean, it was tons of family, tons of friends, and then like the whole entire football team and the basketball team. It was just really neat. So we did that one later. I think it was like at 7 o'clock or so, but it was nice to see that, like, hey, making those accommodations make a huge difference. Because yeah, if we did it at lunch, we might have had a couple of his family members, and it meant the world to him and to the family. And it just was really special to be able to see not only his friends be there, but the people that were most important in his life and his family, and just people that have supported him, have the opportunity to celebrate. So that was one of our early fun one that I enjoyed.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine the evening you'd have a much, larger crowd than that lunchtime. I'm
Yeah.
sure your school's the same as ours, finding an open evening, where there's not games or something is just
Yeah,
a killer.
it is.
Amy I'm sorry. I was gonna say great stuff as always. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you do things at Kentucky Country Day, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Email is typically the best. So it's amy.elliott@kcd.org. And yeah, if you have any ideas, whether, you know, compliments or hey, I don't like that, or I'd love to get ideas. That's the biggest thing for me, is just learning from other athletic directors and what they do, and or what they did that wasn't successful, so I don't take on that. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated.
Oh, no, absolutely. And again, Amy's information's on the NIAAA portal if you're an NIAAA member. And I'm going out on a limb here. She's also going to be at the NADC conference in Nashville coming up, right?
Yes, sir. We will be there.
All right. Well, again, Amy, all the best. Thanks for sharing today. And we'll look forward to seeing you in Nashville.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Jake.
For our listeners, remember we do this every Wednesday, Wednesday Wisdom, along with our regular episodes. And the Zoom recordings of these all get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks for listening today. Come back next Wednesday for more wisdom and just about every day on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Once again, we want to say thanks to all of our great sponsors. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at athleticsurveys.com and get started. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Hometown Ticketing is the digital ticketing experts. They're the leading digital ticketing program for schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. I also want to thank Final Forms. They're the leader in forms and registration, but they can help your stakeholders, they can help your coaches, and they can help you as an athletic director. Go to finalforms.com/Jake to get started. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. They have a lot of different services on their platform. I used their fundraising platform and it was just fantastic. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. And I loved it because I didn't have to be involved. Go to snapraise.com to get started with Snap Raise. Also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an athletic director, our school is a Huddle school. It's just fantastic. Go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. That's huddle.com. Also want to say thank you to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Their interactive consoles and templates allow you to recognize your school records, your teams, your Hall of Fame. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. You can't go wrong with them. Also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. See exactly what their fantastic products can do for you. We also want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class marketing content. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com and get started creating world-class marketing content. Also want to say thanks to our podcast partners, We Coach and the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, two great organizations you really need to be a part of. That's the Global Community of Women in High School Sports and We Coach. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Wednesday Wisdom. We'll see you next week. And as I like to say, just about every day on the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks again.